Hello there. Thanks for being patient as I made this recap video. Had some deaths in the family the last few days. Grandparents, my wife's grandmother, and my grandfather. And so there's been a little bit of that on all of our minds in the household, and it's kept me from being able to make this video. So thanks for being patient. But let's go ahead and go through the prescriptions and the recap of the spleen pancreas. So first, the channel pathway. It actually starts, it initiates, opens at the big toe. And it's the medial side of the big toe, that's the inside of the big toe. And then it travels up the inside of the leg. There's a major point here just below the knee that we polish and tap in order to support the spleen. And then that channel pathway travels up the inside of the leg and over the inguinal crease or through the groin to come up the lateral side of the abdomen. And then it comes a little bit wider to kind of the outer corner of the chest. It's on the outside of the nipple line. It comes up and interacts with the lung channel that we know opens and has its surface channel pathway start here on the hollow of the shoulder. So the spleen comes all the way up, interacts with that lung channel, and then terminates down here below the armpit and those ribs there. There's a major spleen point here that actually spreads into the chest. And so as we're doing our imagery, as we're filling up with that golden elixir of the spleen channel, that's the trajectory that it takes all the way up to here. When we want to support that spleen channel by getting rid of obstructions that are hindering that natural flow, well, then we want to work against the channel flow. So it started down at the big toe, moved its way up. So we're going to take our brushing technique that we've used on other channels and start up here where it interacts with the lungs. And we just start brushing, making quick strokes down towards that opening. I'm going to bend my knees and stoop a little bit with the back so that I can get down comfortably to my feet and big toes. And as I sweep out, then I just kind of roll back up. I want to feel what that's done to my spleen channel. It's definitely made a buzz. It's kind of lightened it all up. There's a component though here at the base of my ribs that doesn't have a lot of sensation. Some of this part of the channel pathway has less sensation. And so I'll do a couple more times. Brushing down, getting that side part of the ribs too, where that big point that spreads into the chest is, and then just continuing down with these brushing techniques. The inside of the knee, inside of the shin, in front of the ankle bone, and out the big toe. Take stock one more time. Definitely more flow now, definitely feel more here, more through this area. I feel a little bit warmer. And I'll do one more because threes are nice and powerful. As I'm doing this, I can easily incorporate the healing sound, which is who. So as I'm exhaling, we can also use our healing sound inaudibly, where we're just making the shape, but we're not using the vocal sounds from our vocal cords. And we get a very similar healing effect from the inaudible sounds. So now I've got a lot of buzz happening, a lot of buzz in my fingertips and in my palms, because they were my magic hands doing all the movement, but the buzz through all of that spleen channel makes the whole thing feel very alive and awake. And so from here, giving a nice little stretch, I'm looking down at my notes here, a nice little stretch to that channel pathway can be another way to kind of elongate and bring about some shifting and some understanding in your sensations of those channels, or of this channel, the spleen channel. So if you remember, it opens or begins at the big toe, and so I'm going to actually tuck my big toe under on one side. So I've got my foot just a little bit maybe, without having the whole thing topple over. There we go. Yeah, so I've got my toe kind of pulled underneath me, and I'm emphasizing more that inside of the foot. I'm not emphasizing the outside of the big toe. That's a different channel pathway. So I'm emphasizing the inside of the big toe and feeling it come all the way up. And I'm actually going to put my foot behind me so that I can have that top of my big toe touching with the ground. And then I've got a nice curve that I can pull through my torso all the way up here. And if I can remember in my mind's eye that I have that internal pathway that actually connects to the root of the tongue, well, then I can also feel that stretch inside behind my collarbone, right up there to the root of the tongue. And I keep my thumbs kind of down, pointing towards the floor, because they're the long channel and they're the arm extension of the same confluence that the spleen channel is on. So we're giving it another nice stretch by pushing down with the thumbs, by pointing down with the thumbs. Good, and I want to switch, keep myself nice and balanced. And so again, I take that top of my foot, that top of my big toe, and go back behind me. And then I emphasize that inside part of the toe and start to feel that stretch come up the inside of my thigh. It's already at the inside of my knee. There we go. And now the inside of my thigh, up over my belt line and through the ribs. And as I aim my thumb down, I can feel all of this become a part of that same trajectory of stretch. And then I can even feel that pull into the root of my tongue. So I'm accessing all of the spleen channel, accessing all of the tie-in confluence by also articulating the thumb and that lung channel that's right there. All the tie-in, all of the spleen, being nice and elongated, full of blood. Okay? When we want to support our organs by using some really potent points, we've learned some for the stomach, right, for the large intestine, for the spleen. We've got one that's on the inside of the knee. It's just below that calf nostril. Just inside from that calf nostril, and just below the head of my femur, the end of my femur bone as it comes in to make my knee. If I've got this bent up, those nostrils are there, and I come just medially or just inside the knee, right to that little hollow right there, and that's where that point is. When my leg's extended, it ends up being a little bit below this whole kind of knee complex. So we can, depending on how we're holding our knee, how we're holding our leg, we can find this area in a couple of different ways. But just getting to that area, getting to the little calf's nostril, moving myself into the midline, and it's kind of palpating, kind of feeling around, it tells me, oh, okay, there's that point I'm looking for, because it's a little bit tender. It has a sensation that's different than the rest of the area. And so I know, okay, that's the area where I'm going to want to bring some polishing, want to bring some tapping. And this is one of those potent points that's on the channel pathway that supports the organ itself. Now, if we want one that's not on the channel pathway, but is a very potent point to support it, much like that stomach point that's supported here was not on the stomach channel, it was right in the middle of the body, but it was very potent and supportive for the stomach. So similarly, the spleen has a very potent, it's called an alarm point, right here at the bottom of the ribs. It has its point that spreads through the chest that's in the middle of the ribs, but right here at the bottom of the ribs where my thumbs are poking in, this is the alarm point for the spleen. It's a very powerful point for helping it to relax and to saturate. And so we can put our palms here. We can also go across. And this almost has a different kind of a support to it. Because as we're pulling across this way, as we're pulling across this way, we're giving some new information to those 2 points and to this whole area between those 2 points of like an outside tension. They're used to having more of an internal tension. And And here's an external tension kind of holding against them that creates a relaxation effect. It creates a desire to take a breath, maybe even a sigh, but to breathe out like the who sound. So again, we can just have our focus here with our palms, or we can go across, which just looks just very similar to crossing the arms in front of the chest. Isn't that interesting? Another area where we create a tension that we can kind of lean against with our diaphragm, and it reinvigorates our ability to be stubborn and to hold out. Right? The crossing of the arms, pushing against the diaphragm, really brings about that rigidity. So it's interesting that this is a very similar stance, but we don't want to lock in here. We're actually pressing in with the palms. There's this tendency for the shoulders to come forward because of how much pressing we're doing. So we keep the shoulders back, we keep them down. It very much looks like crossing of the arms, but I'm pressing in here. Pressing in, I'm almost grasping these bottom parts of my ribs with either hand. And so the same kind of movements. I can do polishing. Right? With the fingertips, it gets a little bit more difficult. I start to get a little too tense here in the deltoid, and I can't do this for too long. So tapping may be the way to interact with my fingers here. Again, tapping brings about a new vibration by impacting the area, and renewed energy flow by drawing away from the area. So each tap is giving you kind of a double whammy support. Good, and so I'll do this to just start to feel some lightness, especially if I incorporate this after doing the channel pathway. I want to initiate some of this. Maybe I had a little bit of extra time that I put to this spleen point here below the knee. All the while I'm feeling and I'm paying attention to where my spleen is on the left side of my lower ribs. And I'm imagining things like golden elixir that I'm breathing in, or breathing out stagnation, tension, and worry. Worry and pensiveness comes out on my breath when I'm exhaling the who sound. Nice golden elixir. Filling in, saturating. I'm going to take just a minute and imagine that and feel that, so that my chi is really reflecting that and not just my voice. So imagining filling up with that golden elixir. It saturates my spleen. I feel my pancreas, feel my stomach. Inhale again, drawing in that golden elixir. I exhale and I just notice, feel a little higher in the throat. Definitely higher in the torso. I breathe one more time, bringing in that elixir. Good, I feel a nice warmth. I feel bright on the inside. A brightness that's like light, like I would see, but I also feel bright, like I feel my head clear, like I could tackle a math problem. I could bring a clear point of view to an article and have something to give its feedback. I feel ready to apply my smarts to something. I feel brilliant. That's just in supporting my spleen, just in this little bit that I've shared with you to remember our qigong prescriptions. The 1 through 10 visualization is what I took you through to help you have an experience of filling with that golden elixir, of opening up to the celestial energy, the lights and the light that shines down on us from all the different directions, and to couple those into one experience inside of you, to give you a space of clarity, but a space, one defined by earth energy and by heaven energy, that allows you to move forward balanced and authentic and true to your purpose. So you'll be getting a link to that video in the email that's coming, as well as filling up with that golden elixir. We also wanted to bring about some renewed vigor and some vibration to this whole rib area. We did that by doing trunk twists. So our feet right under our knees, knees under hips, hips under shoulders, head is just above, with a little hollow like a tangerine in your armpits, kicking your elbows out. Good, and so with this trunk twist, we're pivoting around the spine. So I'm going to relax my arms and let's let them drip and droop at the sides of me. And I'm just going to pivot around that spine, building up some momentum. I'm not going to jump right into waving my arms around. I want to build that momentum and have some kind of a spiral experience to how my arms are interacting with my torso. And my torso is spinning around my spine. So now I've started to allow my hands to kind of clap against my hips. And my hip line start to move its way up to my waist and actually come to the level of my kidneys, my liver, my spleen, my diaphragm, my stomach, my pancreas. A lot happening in this middle area. So just giving myself a little, hey, atta guy, good job to those organs. You guys are doing a good job. You guys are communicating well. Everything's working smoothly, especially when we give a little pat like this. That's my focus, that's my intention. And I'm just going to gently start to come out of that twisting, letting my hands still kind of drip and droop, impacting my sides as I slowly come back to a more neutral position until finally my arms and hands are completely quiet and my torso is done spinning. Good, and so we also practiced using pulling down heavens to fill up the confluence, to fill up the spleen into the lung channel, to release down the large intestine channel, down the stomach channel. So it's pulling down heavens, which we're used to, which we've seen a few times by now. But we do our pulling down heavens by filling first, filling from the earth up through our big toes, up through the middle of the legs, the insides of the legs, up through the insides of the torso, up to the root of the tongue, out to the arms, out to the thumbs, and then down from the trigger fingers, down to the face, and then from the face down the body, and out the feet. That's the trajectory that we take, and it looks like this. Inhale, filling. Exhale, draining. So I inhale, filling with that golden elixir all up the spleen channel. It becomes a bright white light that I fill all the way up into my thumbs. And then I exhale that white, draining down to my face. It becomes an orange that drains down my torso, the fronts of my legs, out those middle toes. Good, golden elixir filling. Up to white light. And white light down to my face. And orange from my face down my front, out my toes. Good. The earth element, that supports the spleen. Tectonic plates constantly shifting because of magma flow and lava that has made it to the surface. This is the ancestry of the spleen. It's where it founds its function. It's on that truth of the earth, the shifting and the constant transition that the earth is in, despite its mass, despite the slowness of some of those movements. They are constantly under pressure and constantly at work. Same for our spleen. So in our imagination, in our mind's eye, in our meditative places, in our meditative state, we can draw on some of those images that we've gotten from science about the magma that is in the mantle of the earth and how it churns and how hot it is and how movement is its constant. These colors that artists have illustrated those principles of science too. In our science books, I do homeschooling with with both my kids right now, and so there's opportunity to see those textbooks again and be reminded of these scientific discoveries, scientific principles that can play right into our imagination, can play right into our meditative practice. And the earth element is a wonderful one to demonstrate that with. So it feels pretty buttoned up. It feels like a nice recap. Just making sure. Yeah. The only last little piece, just as a reminder, is the color of the pancreas, and that it is the seat of hope. And it gets easily covered and becomes very dark with doubt. Doubt is breeded by worry, is created by pensiveness. It seeps in from overthinking and repetitive thinking. When we have this image and this opportunity that we've given ourselves to interact with the pancreas on a direct level, by imagining filling with that white light, even just working through the confluence, we notice that that golden elixir transforms into a white light for the lungs. Well, the same happens for the pancreas. The pancreas also gets bolstered. Its hope gets reinforced as we allow vigor to be pumped into our body through natural flows. So that white light, that constant hope that is consistent and ever present, we can uncover the doubt. We can decide to let go and to allow ourselves to trust what comes up for us, trust our lessons, trust our opportunities, trust the blessings that are right in front of us. This nice, happy, healthy pancreas gives us that opportunity. And these simple focuses, these simple exercises that I've shared just up to now, all apply to the pancreas, all support that root of hope. So I hope it sticks with you. I hope you're able to find one or two of these, or maybe all of them, into your practice. And I look forward to talking with you about the heart come next Saturday. Make myself a full conduit here. There's a light in me and a light in you. Together, we are one. Namaste.